If you've ever asked the question, what do you want for dinner? This video is for you. This question comes up when you're in the car or on the couch, exhausted at the end of your day and hoping you make a good decision. That's not a character flaw. It's just a bad system. In this video, I'm going to show you the one decision you need to make before your day even starts, so losing weight no longer depends on willpower at 7:30 at night. Imagine walking into a casino where every light, every sound, and every free drink is designed to keep you at the table just a little bit longer. You know the house has the advantage, but in the moment, you still tell yourself, I feel lucky. That's exactly what it's like trying to lose weight while you're making food choices in the middle of a busy, exhausting day. The casino is your food environment. It's billboards on your commute, drive-through signs, delivery apps on your phone, snacks in the office, and your kids asking for fast food on the way home. Food and beverage companies spend billions of dollars every year to win that one tiny moment in your day, the second when you decide what to eat. They're that cute little old lady waiting for you to walk away from the slot machine so they can hit the jackpot 30 seconds later. If your whole plan is, I know how to eat healthy, you're basically sitting down at a rig table and hoping to beat the house with sheer willpower. The problem isn't that you don't know what's healthy. The problem is when you're deciding what to eat. If you're trying to figure that out when you're tired, hungry, and everyone's already asking, what's for dinner? You're literally betting against the house. In the rest of this video, I'm going to show you how to step out of that rigged game completely with one simple habit you can use even with a packed schedule. So most busy professionals think they need like the perfect meal plan, a food scale, and a color-coded spreadsheet to finally lose weight, but you don't. The real problem isn't what you know about nutrition, it's when you decide what to eat. So if you're constantly choosing food in the moment, in the car, between meetings, standing in front of your refrigerator, or at 7 p.m. when everyone's already starving, you're putting yourself in the worst possible position to win. You're tired, you're hungry, you're stressed, and the easiest options in that moment are almost never the ones that match your goals. So when your plan is, I know how to eat healthy, what you're really saying is, I'll make a high pressure decision when my willpower is depleted and temptation's at its peak. That's why you know exactly what a healthy dinner looks like, and you can still end up with pizza on the coffee table. The big mistake to stop making is this: stop deciding your meals at the last second. Instead, one simple habit that quietly changes everything about your results, even with a crazy schedule. Plan your meals in advance and then just follow your plan. Let me show you why that works so well and how to do it in a way that doesn't allow it to take over your entire Sunday. Let's talk about why I'll just make a good choice later almost never works, especially if you're busy. Well, first, hunger changes how your brain works. When you're hungry and tired, your body is screaming for quick energy. Your brain stops caring about long-term goals like I want to lose 20 pounds, and it starts caring about what can I eat in the next 5 minutes so I don't bite someone's head off. That's when the drive-thru, the break room donuts, and the pizza menu suddenly look a lot more attractive than trying to come up with a healthy meal. On top of that, you're dealing with decision fatigue. By the time you walk in the door at night, you've already made hundreds of decisions: emails, meetings, kids' schedules, text messages, work fires. Your capacity for the next decision simply isn't the same. So when someone asks you, hey, what do you want to do for dinner? This decision just feels heavy. And when your brain's fried, your food selections might be too. This is why you can have the best of intentions in the morning and still in the day ordering food you didn't plan on, eating more than you meant to, and saying, all right, I'll do better tomorrow. If your entire fat loss strategy depends on you making a perfect food decision at 7:30 at night after a long day, surrounded by tempting options, that's not a strategy. That's wishful thinking. So instead of trying to become a superhero, at the end of the day, let's change the rules of the game. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer decisions. And that's where planning your meals in advance comes in. It lets you make one clear decision before the chaos, instead of a dozen panic decisions in the moment. Next, I want to show you why the game's actually rigged against I know how to eat healthy, and how planning pulls you out of that trap. Here's the part that nobody tells you. It's not just you versus your appetite. It's you versus a multi-billion-dollar marketing machine. Food, drink, and restaurant companies spend billions of dollars every year on advertising, and the vast majority of that money is pushing fast food, sugary drinks, and ultra-processed foods. In other words, the stuff that makes fat loss harder, is the stuff that you're going to see the most. So picture this. You've had a long day, you're driving home, you pass 3 fast food spots, a couple of pizza places, and at least 1 billboard with something cheesy and delicious staring back at you. Phone buzzes with a $5 off your next order notification from a delivery app. You finally walk in the door and someone asks, "What do you want for dinner?" If you don't already have a plan in place, what are the odds you're gonna pull out the ingredients, cook from scratch, and perfectly line it up with your fat loss goals? You're far more likely to make a mistake and promise yourself, "I'll do better tomorrow." Take something like pizza. Most people that are trying to lose weight would never sit down on Sunday and write out random pizza night into their meal plan. But when there is no plan, well, pizza becomes the default. It's easy, it's everywhere, everyone likes it, and after a long day, let's just grab a pizza feels like stress relief, not sabotage. And that's the rigged game. Your environment is constantly nudging you towards the highest calorie, easiest options, especially at the end of the day, when your willpower is at its lowest. Planning your meals ahead of time is how you step out of that game. You're not standing in the kitchen trying to negotiate with your terrorist cravings and a stack of takeout menus. You're just following a decision that you already made when you were clear-headed and not hungry. And this doesn't just change your waistline, it can change the entire vibe in your household. Let me show you what this looked like for one of my clients, Jen, and how planning her meals in advance helped her lose over 30 pounds and argue less about dinner. When she first came to work with us, her days looked a lot like yours might. She'd crush it at work, handle a million things for everybody else, and then by the time dinner rolled around, she and her husband would look at each other and ask that dreaded question, "What do you want for dinner?" Nobody really knew, and nobody wanted to cook. Nobody wanted to make another decision. So they default to whatever was the fastest and the easiest. So takeout, drive-through, and pizza nights happened way more often than either of them wanted to admit. And it wasn't that they didn't know grilled chicken and veggies was a better option than a large pepperoni pizza. The problem was when the decision was being made at the end of a long day, when they're both tired, hungry, and surrounded by easy, high-calorie options. Sound familiar? So here's what changed. Jen didn't start by weighing every gram of food. She didn't start by tracking every calorie or dialing in her macros. She started with one simple habit. She planned her meals in advance. And at first it was just dinners. That once a week she took a few minutes to decide, what are we eating for dinner each night? And then what do we need to buy so these foods are actually in the house? That was it. There were no 4-hour marathon Sunday meal prep sessions. There weren't 27 new recipes. It was just a simple written plan for dinner and then a grocery list to support that plan. Here's what happened. The "what do you want for dinner" conversation basically disappeared. They stopped relying on emergency takeout multiple times a week, and dinner went from chaotic and last minute to simple and predictable. Over time, that one tiny habit added up.
When I joined, it was just to start making healthy changes in my life, but I never expected to lose 30 pounds.
Jen lost over 30 pounds and her energy improved. Evenings felt less stressful, and those tiny little arguments over what do you want to eat for dinner were a thing of the past. And Jen's not some unicorn. In fact, surveys show couples argue about where to eat or what to get for dinner dozens of times per year. So when you plan your meals in advance, that entire argument disappears. You're not asking on a daily basis, what do you want for dinner? You're saying, here's what we've already decided. So now the big question becomes, how do you actually do this when you're busy without turning into a full-time meal prep chef? So let's break down a simple, realistic way to plan your meals in advance so you can stick to it even with a packed schedule. Let's make this practical. Planning ahead does not mean you have to live in a sea of Tupperware or spend your entire Sunday cooking. For most busy people, the goal isn't perfect. The goal is better than making a panicked decision at 7 o'clock at night. So here's a simple way to do it. Decide once, eat, and repeat. Instead of deciding what to eat 5 times a day, you decide once for tomorrow. Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes in the evening, grab a notebook, your notes app, sticky note in the fridge, whatever you'll actually use, and write it down. Your first meal, your lunch. So your snacks could be flexible, but you can even jot down a couple of default options like fruit, Greek yogurt, or a protein bar that you like. It doesn't have to be fancy or perfectly balanced. It just needs to exist before the day starts. So tomorrow, you're not asking, what should I eat? You're saying, here's what I've already decided. Now we're going to start with the most dangerous decision, dinner. If planning all your meals feels overwhelming, don't. Just start with dinner. For most people, Breakfast and lunch are fairly routine. You're likely not struggling to eat chocolate cake for breakfast. Where things go off the rails is dinner. So instead of trying to overhaul everything, start by planning just 3 to 4 dinners ahead of time. Ask yourself, what are we having for dinner the next few nights? What do I need to have on hand so that actually happens? That decision alone can reduce stress and pizza by default nights. Once that feels normal, you can expand to planning the whole day if you'd like. Busy people don't need 50 new recipes. You need 5 to 10 realistic go-to meals you actually like and know how to make. So think rotisserie chicken with microwave veggies, stir fry using frozen veggies and whatever spices you like, baked chicken and veggies, or a simple bowl, your favorite protein, rice or potatoes, some veggies, and spices. These aren't Instagram perfect, but they are repeatable. Then when you plan, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're just plugging those go-to meals into the next few days. Build an emergency backup plan. Life happens. Meetings run late, kids need last-minute rides, traffic's a mess, but things happen. Planning ahead doesn't mean life's going to be perfect. It means you also plan for when it's not perfect. So give yourself a backup option for crazy days. A healthy frozen meal in the freezer. Grab this at the grocery store on the way home combo. A pre-decided restaurant order that fits your goals. The key is to have that backup plan chosen in advance, not when you're already starving and stressed. This way, if your original plan falls apart, you're not scrambling to make a good decision. You're just switching to plan B, which still aligns with your goals. So let planning be a relief, not a prison. This is important. Planning your meals is not about controlling every bite of food you eat for the rest of your life. It's about taking a few decisions off your plate so you're not trying to do everything from scratch when your brain's fried. If you follow your plan 100%, hey, that's awesome. But if you follow it at 80% and life throws you a curveball, that's still miles better than having no plan at all. The point is progress, not perfection. Now that you know how to plan in a simple, realistic way, I want to show you how this one habit makes all the advanced strategies like calorie counting and macros completely optional, or at least way easier to stick to. So let's zoom out for a second. Counting calories, tracking macros, intermittent fasting, all of that can work, but here's the catch. Without a plan, those strategies usually turn into damage control. You're eating reactively all day, whatever's available, whatever's easy, and then you open your tracking app at night and think, wow, that added up fast. And that feels discouraging. And when you get frustrated, you're a lot less likely to stick with it. Planning flips that. When you plan your meals in advance, tracking becomes proactive, not reactive. It's no longer, log the damage from the burger and fries I grabbed because I was starving. It becomes, here's what I've already decided to eat. Let me plug that into my app. Same tools, completely different experience. The beautiful part is a lot of busy people start seeing progress from planning alone. Fewer random takeout meals, fewer last minute, whatever's easiest choices. More meals that actually line up with your goals, all without obsessively weighing and measuring your food. Then, if you want to go deeper later with macros, calorie targets, or more detailed meal prep, you've already built the most important habit, planning. You're not letting your environment and your mental exhaustion decide what you're going to eat. You are. And that's the real win. So let's bring this home. If you're a busy professional over the age of 30, your biggest fat loss problem likely isn't knowing what's healthy. You already know the basics. The real problem is when you're deciding what to eat. If all your food decisions are happening in the car between meetings or 7 o'clock at night when everybody's hungry and tired, you're asking way too much of your willpower. And the fix is simple. It's not always easy, but it is simple. Stop making food decisions in the heat of the moment. Start making them in advance. If you take one thing from this video, make it this. For the next 7 days before you go to bed, take 5 minutes. Write down what you're going to eat tomorrow. That's it. No perfect macros, no complicated recipes, just a simple written plan for your meals and a commitment to follow it as best you can. That one habit beats hunger and decision fatigue, protects you from pizza by default nights, lowers your stress, arguments about dinner, and finally, it gives you a realistic way to lose weight with a schedule that's already full. You don't have to overhaul your entire life to change your body. You just have to stop deciding what to eat when you're already exhausted and start planning it before the chaos begins. Now, if you want help turning this one habit into the kind of consistency that actually drives results, your next step is to watch my video called The Single Biggest Predictor of Success with Your Fitness. In that video, we go deeper into the one factor that separates people who start and stop over and over again, and the people who quietly stack these simple habits until the results become impossible to ignore. So if you're ready to not just plan better, but actually follow through, click right here, here, or here, and watch the single biggest predictor of success with your fitness. I'll see you over there.